Welcome back to Access Anime. My name is Henshin Ikeda, and today I'll be doing a walkthrough and review of OreShura Episode 2. And if you remember from last episode, we're introduced to the main character. His name's Ikeda, and he actually wants to go to medical school to become probably a doctor, suffice to say. Now, his childhood friend Chiwa, she's this petite little girl who surprisingly is in high school, I believe. Now, I don't know how they became friends, but she is definitely polar opposite. She's very spontaneous, and apparently she reads a lot of magazines about a girl by the name of Natsukawa. And if you don't know who Natsukawa is, she's a super popular model from overseas. Apparently attends the same school as Ikeda. Just putting that out there. Now moving on past it toward the end of the episode, we do find out Natsukawa attends the same school as Ikeda. And you're like, how is that? Okay, that's just disaster waiting to happen, Plain and simple. And guess what? Toward the end of the episode, that's exactly what happens. Now, apparently, Natsukawa is used to being hit on, asked on dates by so many people that she's had enough. So instead of just, walking away or just picking someone random to date, she blackmails Ikeda. You're wondering, why is she blackmailing Ikeda? She wants him to become her fake boyfriend, just so that, the tension's going to be off of her. And what does she have to blackmail with? His journal. She went to a bookstore and bought his journal, which is a guy's diary technically, and is using it to blackmail Ikeda to date her, fakely. Now, obviously Chiwa doesn't know yet, but Ikeda has a strong feeling that Chiwa's going to disagree with what's happened. And again, that's where the episode ends. And I'll hold my final thoughts on my rating at the end of the clips, so stay tuned. Let's just dive right on in. Let's get started. Now, we open up this episode exactly where we left off. We see Natsukawa and Ikeda actually arms linked together, and their boyfriend and girlfriend, fakely. So yes, Ikeda actually caves and becomes her boyfriend, her tool. And I thought it was kind of funny. Now while this is going on, Chiwa does notice. Yeah, this obviously she notices right off the bat, and basically she tells Natsukawa, you don't have my permission, you can't date him. You didn't even ask me. I'm like, so in order for Natsukawa to fakely date Ikeda, she has to ask for Chiwa's permission? Huh, that doesn't sound right. I mean, does Chiwa have an interest in, Ikeda? We don't know. So moving on past that, we do find out Natsukawa humors Chiwa and actually asks for her permission, or in this case, her blessing for them to date. I'm like, wow, that is just so wrong. So moving on past that, because that's where we open up with. We opened up with a new scene with Chiwa actually, and this is like the next day, or at least at her house, and she's practicing, looks like kendo. Now she's not in kendo anymore because of because of an accident in her past, so she no longer can perform the kendo technically, but she's still practicing it apparently. So she's got like a strong background in kendo in general. Just putting that out there. Now moving on past that, we do find out that Chiwa actually tells Ikeda that she's gonna be looking for a boyfriend as well. So I'm like, is this a little jealousy I see? It looks like it. I mean, Chiwa has to be jealous of what Ikeda actually has. I mean, he's dating the most popular girl in his high school. And, Chiwa does notice, and she is jealous. And she does tell Ikeda, yeah, I'm going to be looking for a boyfriend as well, so I can have what you have. I'm like, yeah, you can see the jealousy right there. So moving on to a different scene, this is the next day, we're at school, and we actually see Ieda's best friend, Karu. And Karu is just shocked. He's like, you're dating the most popular girl in this school. What the fuck? Literally, WTF. What? I mean, aren't you the anti-lover? Because Ikeda always refers to himself as the anti-lover. Obviously because of what happened to his parents, leaving him and, running after his, running after their lovers and whatnot. But, that's the past. This is the present. And, yeah, he's no longer the anti-lover. Apparently now he's dating the most popular girl in the school. Now, I should point this out, everyone at school knows that he's dating and they're shocked, everyone notices, all the kids notice, and Chiwa is acting different. And by different, I mean she's walking to school by herself, she has toast in her mouth, and at every single sentence, at the end of every sentence she has, it's meow. So it's like XYZ, meow. How was your day? Meow. That kind of little phrase. I'm like, it's cute, but it gets annoying, if you know what I mean. So moving on past that to a different scene. Now on their way home, Natsukawa and Ikeda, yet again, they're walking together, fakely because of boyfriend and girlfriend. And again, they're walking home. And basically, we find out Ikeda just wants to tell, Chiwa in general what's going on. And Natsukawa holds him back from doing that because she's like, this is a secret. No one knows you're not really my boyfriend. Once one person knows, it's no longer a secret. So they're having an open conversation about Chiwa. And again, Natsukawa shoots down Ieda's request to tell her. So I was like, yeah, no surprise there. I mean, really. So there is a catch. We find out Natsukawa makes an interesting request to Aida saying, why don't you get Chiwa to come with me tomorrow? I want to talk with her. You know, bring her to my club. I was like, what? Why do you want to talk to Chiwa all of a sudden? Are you trying to set her straight? Oh, we don't know. All I can tell you is this is what Natsukawa was telling Aida. I want you to bring Chiwa to the to school the next day and to the club so we can have a one-on-one discussion. So I just thought that kind of interesting. So again, Aida is left in the dark on what Natsukawa actually meant, other than I need to talk to Chiwa in private, or bring her to the club tomorrow. Again, that's where we end that scene at. Moving on to a different scene. The next day at school, we find out Natsukawa invites Chiwa to her club, and you're like, okay, there's a catch. She's dressed in a kimono. So Natsukawa, she's dressed in a kimono. Looks, beautiful. That's all I can say. She looked beautiful. Her character was well drawn, and I loved what I saw. But there's got to be a catch. I mean, you don't go all out unless you're trying to do something. Now, apparently she wants to help Chiwa with her popularity, since she's so popular herself. I'm like, but there's got to be a catch, right? So apparently we're taken to a different scene with Natsukawa, and she's telling Chiwa about her notebook that her first love, left her, per se. I'm like, okay, so what does this have to do? I really don't understand. So apparently this notebook actually belongs to Aida, and he's freaking out. It's like, why are you reading from this book? Why are you bringing this up? And again, Natsukawa brings this up. It's like, I have this notebook, and it's from my first love, and he has all of his memories within this notebook. And I was like, kind of, it's a little meaningful, like what he went through when he was actually dating Natsukawa. And this is all a lie, by the way, because it's Aida's notebook, so it's very humiliating. Now apparently Natsukawa's first love, which this isn't true, by the way, the last log that was made, I think, was in March of whatever year, and she's saying that was the last time they were together, was in March, and then he left and he never returned. I'm like, yeah, that's a sad story. She is a liar. She is lying. I know, maybe it's for a dramatic effect, I don't know. But moving on to a different scene with Aida, and Aida actually is now the advisor for this club. So Natsukawa automatically says, guess what, Aida, you're going to be the advisor for our club. I'm like, okay. This got interesting. Now moving on to a different scene, apparently Chiwa, she backs out. She's like, you know what, I don't want to actually join this club, it's not my cup of tea, I don't want to join this. Now then Natsukawa basically says, well, if you don't join, it'll just be me and Aida in the club. And you got that little romance pause, like, what? And it's like, yeah, we're gonna be alone together. I'm like, yeah, Chiwa accepts it right off the bat. She's like, no, I'll join. I'm like, okay, little nudge there, nudge nudge. But anyways, we're taken to a different scene. Now, apparently, you're probably wondering, what's the name of this club? Because, we don't even know what the club's name is, because it's in the former tea club room, apparently. And I'm wondering, okay, what's the name of this club? Now, apparently, it's called the Club for Young Maidens to Recreate Themselves. I'm like, how is that a club? That's even too much to pronounce. So the shortness of it is basically the nice self-creation of it. Basically, that's what Natsukawa calls it. Like, it makes more sense for a guy to pronounce. So we are taken to a different scene. Now, this is the next day. They're in the club room. We open up with Natsukawa, and she's telling Chiwa she needs a target. She needs to seduce someone. Sorry, I stuttered there because I don't like saying seduce too much. Kind of an adult word to use in a high school setting. But sorry, bear with me here. Anyways, Natsukawa tells Chiwa, well, you need to find a target, someone to seduce. I'm like, okay, where are you going with this? Now, Aida, I just put this out there. Aida basically is going along with this, and he's actually helping Natsukawa. I'm like, surprisingly, he's helping her out. And Chiwa basically mentions Sakata. She's into Sakata. Now, apparently Sakata is this guy that's on the basketball team, and he's really popular, and he's into guitars and artists like that. But his name really isn't Sakata, it's Sakagami. And he's a third-year student. Just putting that out there. She couldn't even get the guy's name right. So we're taken to a different scene. Now, apparently Sakagami's younger brother is actually in the same class as Natsukawa and Aida. So just putting that out there. So they're in the same class. So maybe if they go through the younger brother, they can get to the older brother. So that kind of makes sense. So it should be easy. But looks can be deceiving. So we're taken to a different scene with Natsukawa. Now she's reading a passage to Chiwa from Aida's notebook. I just thought it was funny, and I had to put that out there. And she gives Chiwa an empty guitar case. She had this whole spiel about, if you become a guitar player or an artist, but you don't actually have to play, it'll build your popularity up. And I'm like, that makes sense. So she gives Chiwa an empty guitar case, and I thought that was kind of funny. And basically she tells she basically says, well, if someone asks you, you know, if they want to touch your guitar case or have you play something, well, basically, this is what she said. You know, if someone tries to actually touch the case, just say, "Don't dirty my soul with your." I'm like, wait, why would you tell someone that? Don't dirty your soul with your hands if someone actually tries to touch your guitar case? That makes sense, but you know, I wouldn't fall for that. I mean, that can only work so much. But you know, moving on past that, we do find out there's a JoJo Bizarre Adventure reference. So Natsukawa is basically making JoJo Bizarre Adventure references. I'm like, it was funny, it was amazing, and she's like, the music is really great in it. She mentions a few artists. I mean, if you really want to fake becoming a guitar player, just know a few different guitar artists, you know, a few artists, a few bands, and you'll be good to go. I mean, it makes sense to an extent. Now we are taken to a different scene. Now apparently she does tell Chiwa, you know, read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you know, get to know some of the music, you know, couple artists, you know, it kind of makes sense. So we are taken to a different scene now. It looks like it's the next day, and Chiwa's going to Aeda's class, you know, to talk with Sakagami's younger brother, which we still don't know what his name is, to be honest. And she enters the room with a guitar case, which is empty. And you know, a couple girls in the classroom like go around. It's like, oh, you can play the guitar, you can play the guitar. And she got all this popularity right away. And she's like, yeah, you play Underneath the Bridge. You know, I played the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they're like, the Red Hot what? Like, it's a band overseas, and like another girl talks about another artist, and you know, Chai was getting a little nervous here. And then Sakagami's younger brother approaches, and he notices. He's like, my brother would definitely be into you, because you know, you guys are both into, you know, music like that, and it looks like it's going somewhere. And then he asks, oh, can you play something? And then Chiwa basically breaks down, and it looks like she's about to play something, but you remember, she doesn't have a guitar in her case, so instead of playing music, she like starts screwing around. She like swings the guitar case around. She's like, da 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 da. I don't know how to do it, but you know, she's like swinging the case around. It looks kind of retarded. I'm just putting that out there. And eventually she stops doing that, and she just runs. She leaves the room and she runs, and Natsukawa is just laughing hysterically. I mean, it was a pretty funny scene, in my opinion. Now moving on past that, we're taken to a different scene with Chiwa, and she's actually in the club room, and she's acting all normal, like this didn't happen. And Natsukawa basically states, well, if you wanted people to notice you or remember you, you're doing a great job. Because, you know, you made an ass out of yourself, so yeah, they're going to remember you. Now moving on past that, we do find out Chiwa asks Natsukawa, well, how did you start out? How did you meet Aeda? Like, how did you guys hook up? And Natsukawa basically says, well, he saw my panties. I'm like, what? I mean, that's partly true, but that's not the full story. And it was just like, Natsukawa basically tells, well, Chiwa in general, so this is Natsukawa telling Chiwa, you know, well, if a maiden shows her panties or they have been seen, then the maiden has to offer herself to this guy, you know, offer herself for life to him. Like, what? And then it kind of is like Chiwa actually looks very serious. She's like, oh, okay. Like, she believes what, you know, Natsukawa is saying. So we're taken to a different scene with Chiwa, and apparently she doesn't want to be a slut, more or less. This is what she said. She doesn't want to be a slut. She doesn't want to do that. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then we see Chiwa basically excusing herself and going to the bathroom. And then we find out Aeda actually tells Natsukawa about, you know, a little more about Chiwa's background. Like, she was into kendo for so much. She was headstrong. She was the best in it. And then there was an accident, and you know, she couldn't do kendo anymore, but she still practiced. And because she no longer can do her favorite thing, she always feels like she needs to do something else to, you know, better herself per se. And this popularity thing is her new thing. That's her kendo. So I thought, okay, that makes sense. And it does look like Natsukawa kind of understands where, you know, Chiwa was coming from. But then again, she also notices that Chiwa has to have some love interest in Aeda, vice versa, because they've been friends for so long. And again, that's where we end the scene at. As for final thoughts, well, first of all, does Chiwa have any real feelings toward, you know, Aeda? I think so. Now, does Natsukawa have feelings for Aeda? She says she wants to love him completely, even if it's for a fake relationship. So I want to say yes. She's getting sucked into him, so she actually might love him. Just putting that out there. And as for poor Karu, he's still left in the dark. He doesn't know jack on what's happening, so I feel bad. But, you know, more power to him. He is praising, you know, Aeda, so putting that out there. And again, that is it for my final thoughts. As for my rating, I'm giving this a 3.5 out of 5. I mean, there's no fight scenes, obviously. This is a slice of life anime series. Was there any emotional scenes? A couple, but, you know, not a lot. And there was just little bits of, you know, information thrown at us. So, final rating, 3.5 out of 5. And that ends it for my walkthrough and review of OreShura episode 2. But again, guys, comment down below, let me know, thumbs up, thumbs down, definitely subscribe, check me out on Twitter, and follow me if you like. And definitely let me know what you thought of this episode, and let me know what you think's going to happen in the next episode that's coming out. But again, guys, I gotta go, I gotta hit the bricks. I've got 3 more walkthroughs and reviews to do today, so definitely stay tuned. But again, guys, I gotta hit the bricks, and I gotta go. And before I go, I gotta say it, and I always say it, you can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.